Hey guys, I hope y'all are having a wonderful, wonderful day. All right, so today is going to be the top 5 villains we would like to see come to Marvel Contest of Champions. We're continuing this series. Our first series was the X-Men. This one's going to be the villains. The next is going to be heroes. X-Men got its own, video because it's near and dear to my heart. And as you will see, there are a few villains on here that are predominantly X-Men villains. So, I hope everybody's having a wonderful day. It will be 5 villains, and then we will have a few shout outs at the end of other people we would like to see in Marvel Contest of Champions. If you like this series, please hit the like button, subscribe, leave a comment. As always, all that stuff helps me out. I enjoy reading your comments. I try to respond to every single one of them. And as you can see, the first villain we are starting off is Arcade. Now, this is one of the old-timey X-Men villains. It wasn't just X-Men. He was Avengers. There were several times, especially in Avengers Arena comic book series. Crazy. Now, he's not very powerful. As most of you know, pretty much all he does is create traps and, you're in his murder world, essentially. This would make a really cool event quest or alliance quest, in my opinion. Would really enjoy seeing Arcade in there. I know he's not everybody's first choice, and heck, probably a lot of people forgot about him. But when we're thinking about aspects of Marvel Contest of Champions, we're thinking of ways to make things interesting, keep the game going, because we love this game. We love this game, and we want to see it thrive and continue. And if they needed to break the mold just a little bit, you could have an entire month's event quest circled around Arcade. You could have an arcade store that you could buy, trade in the arcade coins with. It would be awesome. Moving on to our next character. And this character for me is my number one. Oh, wait. Sorry, no, not that one. Kabam, do not do Ivan Ooze from Power Rangers as Apocalypse. Please. Nope, not him either. There we go. This is the Apocalypse we want. I want Apocalypse in this game probably more than anybody else that we've seen. Silver Surfer and Doctor Doom were two very well sought after wanted champs. For me, Apocalypse is even more so. I want Apocalypse so bad. I want AQs, I want EQs, I want the 4 Horsemen, I want everything. And we've actually done something kind of similar to this where we've changed characters into like evil characters like Abyss and things like this. Apocalypse would be phenomenal with his Horsemen, the Horsemen of Death being Wolverine. You could just have so much there. So yeah, Apocalypse, definitely my number one pick for all of these videos who I want to see in Marvel Contest of Champions, but not the Ivan Ooze from Power Rangers Apocalypse. I'm talking 90s cartoon or 2000s comics Apocalypse, just something of pure evil. So yeah, that is my stance on him. Now moving on to the next character is Mystique. Now, I know a lot of people are going to scratch their head at this one and say, why Mystique? Mystique can shapeshift into anybody. And if you really want to play around and do something cool with the animations of the game, kabam, put in Mystique. Make the SP1 something of Wolverine and the SP2, Deadpool. I don't know. Just pick. And she would be able to use those SP1s of another champ. And she would just convert into that champ or morph into that champ. That would be phenomenal to see, in my opinion. Her playstyle could be very similar to Domino, with guns and acrobatics. But definitely Mystique needs to be in the game. Now, like I said, we're kind of going on an X-Men trend villains. Luckily, Arcade was a villain of everybody. Apocalypse, definitely a villain of everybody. Mystique, a villain of everybody. And I'm not talking about the Jennifer Lawrence one, I'm talking about this one. I'm talking about just the skulls, not the pretty Jennifer Lawrence Mystique. I want the skulls, the bones, the assassin Mystique. So moving on next to character number 4. Sorry, I get really hyped talking about some of those. Moving on to the next character. Character number 4 is Onslaught. Now, many of you who did not grow up in the comic book world will not know who this is. For those of you who do, know that Onslaught, it took the combined powers of the Avengers, the Fantastic Four, nearly every Marvel superhero to defeat Onslaught. Franklin Richards. It took nearly all of them. Now, for most of you who don't know, that was actually just a reboot. It was a Marvel's attempt to reboot some of the comics that weren't selling well. But we're going to still think, oh yes, Onslaught. It's the combination of Charles Xavier and Magneto. Back when Magneto ripped the adamantium out of Wolverine's body, Charles Xavier pretty much shut down his mind. And what that did for, I'm going to butcher this, but this is how I read the comic. It pretty much created a new entity that was a combination of Charles Xavier and Magneto. The ultimate mutant. The ultimate mutant. So, that is one I would really like to see. It could be, like a final boss. Because, we have the Collector. We have, we have Maestro, we have Thanos. This could be one of those characters. People forget about Onslaught, but it took the combined powers of the Fantastic Four, the X-Men, but it didn't kill the X-Men, but the Fantastic Four, the X-Men, the Avengers, all these superheroes had to come together to try to defeat Onslaught. It was a huge crossover series. Highly recommend reading that. It wasn't the best comic series, but I thoroughly enjoyed it being an X-Men fan. Now, last but not least, this one's kind of strange for some people because in the comic books, Baron Zemo, in like the original Avengers comics and Captain America, he is one of the OG villains of Captain America. And I would really like to see him get his due in Marvel Contest of Champions. He has no powers, so to speak of, but high intellect, crafty with his fighting skills, just like Captain America. I would really like to see Baron Zemo as a character release. I think it would be really cool. A little bit of nostalgia, things like that. We have done some older champs with Arcus Vision and Clairvoyant. Baron Zemo would be another one, not quite as old as those, but it would be another older villain that you could bring into Marvel Contest of Champions and have some fun with. Now, I didn't want to go through and do a bunch of pictures of my honorable mentions. So the honorable mentions are essentially the Brotherhood of Mutants. Now, for me, the 90s classic animation, whatever you want to call it, TV series, that is what sticks with me when I think of X-Men, the comics in that series. And in that series, you had Avalanche. And Avalanche was someone who could just use his powers, rumble the ground, stir up the ground beneath you, very much like Quake. Very much like Quake. You also had Toad, so acrobatics, hit you with his tongue, could poison you. Then you have Blob. Blob could sit on you. No, I'm kidding. But Blob, you can't move him. That would be kind of weird to bring into Marvel Contest Champions, I'm not going to lie, because he would probably go unstoppable a lot, which would not be good for a lot of content when you're trying to clear and it's heavily noted. Another one is Pyro. You could have a lot of the same mechanics as Johnny Storm. And then, of course, last but not least, he's probably the biggest honorable mention would be Quicksilver. I would really like to see a speedster in Marvel Contest of Champions. We have phasing. We have a lot of that type of stuff, and a speedster could do the same thing, have the evade mechanic. Be a lot of fun. You can have some fun with his animations. That's probably one that I would really enjoy bringing into the game is Quicksilver. He didn't make the top list because he's really not a villain, so to speak. In fact, in the comic books, he is actually a hero now, which is why he really didn't make the... but he's really not an X-Men either. I know that sounds weird to say that. He was actually an Avenger. Him and Scarlet Witch were actually Avengers. So those are the ones I would like to see come into Marvel Contest of Champions. There are your 5 villains. Number 1 being Apocalypse. So once again, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I really do appreciate it. Please like, subscribe, leave a comment, and give me some ideas. We will continue this series later on once we see what champions are actually getting released. But guys, thank you so much. I hope that you have a blessed day. And as always, peace.